Good morning. How are you? I didn't do this last week because it was Passover and Good Friday, so I took the day off. But I'm back. Passover's over. Easter's over. Hope you had a good holiday, whatever you were celebrating. I'm gonna, because cinemas are still closed here and pretty much everywhere in the world. There's not Can't talk about new movies. There are no new movies, so I'm looking at old movies. That Actually, these two I've seen before, but I hadn't seen them in a while. They were good. I wanted to watch them again, and I like I generally like serious movies over funny movies. I like funny movies, but I generally prefer serious movies. But after watching a few too many serious movies the past few weeks, I was, starting to think maybe I shouldn't watch so many serious movies in this time. So I'm switching and watching funny movies now to make me laugh, make me feel better. So, here are a couple movies that I do recommend. And if you're feeling a little blue or, crazy, whatever, check them out. So the first film I want to talk about is a film called Irina Palm, Irina, palm, like a palm or like a palm tree. Um, it came out in 2007, and why I chose this film is because it stars Marianne Faithfull. And if you don't know who she is, maybe you're of a different generation than me. She is a singer, songwriter, and actress. She's got a very raspy voice, and she had a string of big hits in the 1960s and 70s that included As Tears Go By, great song, Broken English, great song, The Ballad of Lucy Jordan, great song. But perhaps she's best known for her 4-year relationship with Mick Jagger. That's really her claim to fame. But she is a very talented singer and songwriter and actress in her own right. Now, why I decided to look at this film and her, a couple of reasons. Number one is news came out a couple of weeks ago that she was in the hospital with COVID-19. So, that put that in my head, and I haven't heard anything. It's been about 10 days now. I haven't heard anything. If she's okay, I hope she's okay. But the other thing is, well, I'll talk about why, the second reason in a second, but let me tell you a little bit about the story. As I said, the film came out in 2007. Very few people saw the film. It didn't really get distribution. I saw the film. I was at the premiere, the global premiere at the Berlinale back in the day, and so I was lucky enough to see it. But it didn't get distribution to too many places. So you probably never even heard of it. In this film, she plays a woman by the name of Maggie, who's a middle-aged, frumpy widow. It's very funny because here, Marianne Faithfull is anything but frumpy in real life, but here she plays a frumpy widow. She's from the quiet village of Yardley Hastings. I had to actually look up where Yardley Hastings was. It's about 100 kilometers north of London. And having already sold her home to help pay for her grandson's cancer treatment, she decides to find a job so that she can afford to send her family to Melbourne for a new treatment that holds promise for the boy's health. Now, Maggie, however, finds, and this is very apropos for today, she finds that she only has one real marketable skill, and that's, how do you say, helping men get their rocks off. She finds employment at a Soho sex shop, and it's not long before she's a hit with the guys, and she earns the professional name of Irina Palm. Now, so as I said, I saw this film at the Berlinale. Why did I see this film? Because it's directed by a Belgian filmmaker by the name of Sam Grabarski. He had made a number of Jewish-themed films early on in his career, and I had brought 3 of them to my film festival in Hong Kong. He made one called Le Dinde, which means the turkey. He made another one called La Vie, l'Amour et le Foot, Life, Death, and Football. Both of these were short films, and then he made a feature film called The Reshevsky Tango. And so when I heard that he was making this film, Irina Palm, I said, maybe it's a Jewish film. I got to go see it. Sadly, it's not. So, I kept watching this film going, please be Jewish, please be Jewish, please be Jewish. But no, there was nothing Jewish to this film at all. So I never brought it to Hong Kong. I really wanted to, but I never did. So that's why this film never came to Hong Kong. Now, so I watched it again last week, and I still liked it, but I can see that the script and the direction could have been better. It's got a very European feel to it. It's got like fade outs, lots of fade outs. So it's very European feeling, and it doesn't really jibe with the London setting. So you know, there's a little bit incongruous in that respect. And the film is also it's billed as a drama, but there's a lot of comedy to it. But I would say the comedy parts aren't played up enough, and that sort of that you know I think it needed to it needed to be funnier. I think because you know look what she's doing. She's a sex worker. You know she's a middle-aged woman who's a sex worker. So you know I think it could have been funnier. So I can see you know even though with its limitations. Look, I still liked it, even though it's not a great film, but I still liked it. But I could see this is a film that somebody could remake today, and you know tweak it a little bit. I would say it would need a British director, you know, set it in London again, but use a British director who understands British humor, or switch the location to France and use a French director with French humor. You know, either way, I think it would work. The script needs polishing, needs a better director. Sorry, Sam. Needs a better director. Needs a different director. Let me say that. But not a bad film. It's still a good film. Just could have been a really good film, and I think you know it has the potential. It had the potential back then to really be a breakout film, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So, but the big question is when you watch this film is how far would you go to save the life of someone you loved? And certainly she goes beyond the norm, but is she wrong? You know, that's for you to decide when you watch the film. So the film is called Irina Palm, Irina, Palm, Palm. It's available for rental. As far as I know, you can't stream it. You have to rent it. It costs like a couple of dollars US to rent. You can get it on Amazon Prime. You can get it on iTunes. Certainly check it out. I would say, you know, even watching it a second time, 13 years later, I still liked it. So, yeah. Irina Palm, get well soon, Marianne. I haven't heard anything. I hope you're okay. Um, yeah, that's it. So, second film I want to talk about, also an oldie but a goodie. This is a really oldie film. Young Frankenstein from 1974. I watched it again the other night. I hadn't seen it since 1974. So 30, what's that? 30, 40, wow, 46, 40, oh my God, 46 years later. Wow. God, time flies. And it holds up. You know what? The humor holds up. But I gotta say, making a comedy film is not as easy as it sounds. And you know what? There are many comedy films, many successful comedians who make bad films. There's many comedic directors who make bad films. Um, so you know what? It's. I think you know when I used to do the film festival and I would get comedies sent to me, and most of them were awful. And people, you know, I rarely programmed a comedy film in my film festival, and people would say, "Why don't you program a comedy?" And I'd say, "Because I don't want to program a bad film." And there were really like bad comedy films. So as much as I wanted to program a comedy, there weren't a lot of good ones. So this one, Young Frankenstein, if you don't know, it's directed and co-written by Mel Brooks, who is still alive, 93 years old, still alive, amazing. Um, and he just did a PSA last week, 2 weeks ago, with his son about social distancing. So if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's a nice, sweet little PSA. Type out, go into YouTube and type in Mel Brooks social distancing, and you'll find it. So anyhow, Mel Brooks, as I said, he directed, he co-wrote this film. His, although he was already well known in Hollywood because of his writing and his being in TV shows. I think it was in your shows with Sid Caesar before my time. When he started with his first film, which was The Producers in 1967, in fact, all the big studios didn't want to touch it because of its subject matter. You know, it had this, if you've never seen The Producers, you really should see it. You know, it's got this Busby Berkeley-esque production number of dancing Nazi stormtroopers. And I could see back in 1967, the big studios would go, whoa, you know, that's like pushing the envelope a little bit too much. But you know what? Brooks pressed on. He found an independent distributor, And the film not only became a cult hit, it garnered him an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. And, life imitating art, art imitating life. I'm trying to think, life imitating art. The movie about making the least successful stage play in history has gone on to become a very successful stage play in reality, earning Brooks 3 Tony Awards as well. So that's the producers. 1967, definitely check it out. But anyhow, he followed those films up with a string of, that film up with a string of parodies that included Blazing Saddles, great film, Silent Movie, pretty good film, High Anxiety, Spaceballs, and Robin Hood Men in Tights, not a good film. And each of these films became less and less successful. But near the beginning, he released Young Frankenstein, and that one, I would say, probably left the greatest impression on movie culture, even today, 46 years later. Now, as the title suggests, Young Frankenstein, the film is about Mary Shelley's classic horror genre icon, Dr. Frankenstein and his monster. But that's about where the similarity ends. Because here in this film, you have Frederick Frankenstein, or actually is Frederick Frankenstein, played by Gene Wilder, who also co-wrote this film, and he was in the producers, he was in Blazing Saddles. He's an American doctor and a university lecturer who's the grandson of the infamous mad scientist Victor Frankenstein. Now, after learning that he has inherited his great-grandfather's estate in Transylvania, he leaves his fiancée, the prissy socialite Elizabeth, played by the wonderful Madeline Kahn, who was in What's Up, Doc, Paper Moon. I should actually review those films too. I haven't seen those films in ages. And Blazing Saddles as well. He heads to Romania, where he meets an eccentric bunch of characters that include his servant Igor, played by Marty Feldman, his lab assistant Inga, played by Terry Garr, who was in Tootsie, and she was Phoebe Buffay's mother in Friends, and his housekeeper Frau Blucher, played by the wonderful Cloris Leachman, who people probably best know from the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Malcolm in the Middle, and she had her own TV show, Phyllis, the spin-off of Mary Tyler Moore show. Now, the running joke throughout the film is whenever somebody says the name Frau Blucher, the horses, wherever they are, they rear up and they whinny whenever they hear it. Quite funny. Now, when Frankenstein finds his grandfather's private journal, he decides to resume his grandfather's experiment in reanimation. And he and Igor, they rob the grave of a man who was recently hanged, played by Peter Boyle. People would know him as Ray Romano's TV father on Everybody Loves Raymond. And he inserts a new brain into him. Now, unfortunately, things don't go quite to plan. And when the monster awakens after the operation, and it breaks free of it breaks free of its chains and heads out to the town. And this causes Inspector Kemp, who's played by Kenneth Mars, who was also in the producers. He organizes a vigilante mob of the town's villagers who've seen this all before. Now, unlike Shelley's story, Young Frankenstein, can't even get it right, Young Frankenstein has a happy ending for everyone when Elizabeth arrives and is smitten by the monster, and he's smitten by her. So it's a love story at the end. Now, Young Frankenstein is pure madcap fun. And if you're wondering how the cast was able to maintain character throughout the filming, it wasn't easy, as a number of the film's outtakes show. And if you've never seen the outtakes, go into YouTube, type in Young Frankenstein outtakes, and you'll see there's a few of them there, and very, very funny. Now, more than the writing, though, the acting is superb, and it's a real tragedy that most of those actors who were in the film left us far too soon. Madeline Kahn, she passed away, I think she was 57 or something. She passed away of cancer. Marty Feldman died, also very, very young. Kenneth Mars, he lived a long time, but he passed away. Gene Wilder passed away. There's not many of them left. And Terry Garr, she's still alive, but unfortunately she has, what does she have? I want to say multiple sclerosis or something. I can't remember. She's not well. She's not well at all. So very, very sad. But as I said, Mel Brooks is still alive, 93. Amazing. So if you haven't seen Young Frankenstein yet, or if you haven't seen it in a while, definitely check it out. It's good medicine for this troubled time. You will laugh. And oh, and also there was one of the other actors at the beginning of the film, when Dr. Frankenstein is at the medical school and he's talking to the students, there's one student who really is a pain in the behind. And unfortunately, that actor, Danny Goldman, he passed away just a couple days ago. He was 80 years old. Not of COVID-19, though, but still passed away. So, there's another one. Very, very sad. But a wonderful film. Definitely 46 years later, the humor still holds up. You will laugh, you will feel good, and we all need to feel good at this time. So that's it, the two old films. I'm going to keep watching some of these oldies but goodies because I think it's good to go back to them. And we need to, as I said, we need to laugh, right? We need to feel good. So have a good weekend. Have a good week coming up. Stay safe. Wear your mask when you're out in public and wash your hands lots of times. See ya.